Ernie Davis, the first African American recipient of the Heisman Trophy and a turning point for African Americans in the sports world. Through days of research, I believe that Ernie Davis has changed college and pro sports forever. In this speech, I will cover college sports, the Heisman Trophy, African Americans in sports, and Ernie Davis and his impact on sports today and forevermore. Ernie Davis was a man of skill, talent, and success within his high school and college football career. He changed the way that people looked at college athletes. The Heisman Trophy was a huge accomplishment for any player in college football, as it was awarded to one singular player based on their talent, hard work, and attitude on and off the field. Ernie Davis was a deserving recipient of this award because he possessed all the attributes of a star player and the spirit of someone who is not going to give up. Ernie was described as a kind man who was a good player, but also a good man off the field. But he is a symbol of a time, and his life offers enduring lessons in humanity and courage. It's from HistoryNewsNetwork.com. Davis was an All-American athlete and was going to go pro for the Redskins, but was traded to the Cleveland Browns. And before he got to play any professional game, he turned out to be gravely ill, and it turned out to be terminal cancer. In his case, it was monocytic leukemia. He passed away on May 18th, 1963. He then paved the way for the future athletes of color to know their hard work pays off. College football was slightly integrated, but segregation was still a huge issue. Some positions were not available for those of color, and no one of color around that time received awards for their talent. Yet, through all this, Ernie Davis rose above this hate and prejudice to be the best football player of his time. Ernie received many awards and created a path for more athletes of color to follow in his footsteps. Ernie was the first African American to receive the Heisman Trophy and change the sports world forever. Now, around this time was the Civil Rights era, and that means that during this time there was a lot of racism and prejudice, and it was very hard for a player to go pro of color. Davis had to deal with this prejudice head-on through his career, such as in events like away games when he was not able to eat with his fellow teammates or use the same facilities because they were labeled as whites only. Davis was able to rise above the extreme prejudice and overcome those who judged him to become a star athlete. Although the racism and prejudice continued, so did the legacy of a man who rose above them. That man was Ernie Davis. Ernie Davis showed to many that in the face of hatred, one must not respond with hate. He was known as a kind and generous person who had dreamed to play professional football. He was able to show the world that despite what is going on around us, we can rise above. I believe John F. Kennedy said it best when he sent Ernie Davis a telegram congratulating him. Seldom has an athlete been more deserving of such a tribute. Your high standards of performance on the field and off the field reflect the finest qualities of competition, sportsmanship, and citizenship. The nation has bestowed upon you its highest awards for your athletic achievements. It's a privilege for me to address you tonight as an outstanding American and as a worthy example of our youth. I salute you. And that's from AfricanAmericanRegistry.org. Ernie Davis has set a standard for what a true American athlete should be. Now, as we can clearly see, Ernie Davis has not only made an impact on his teammates and people close to him, but the entire sports world. Ernie Davis, being the first African American recipient of the Heisman Trophy, changed the sports world forever with his influential personality and game-winning spirit. In a time when America was at odds, Ernie stood out as a beacon of hope and change. Thank you.